In the history of the United States, one of the darkest chapters is the story of the Native American tribes, their genocide, their displacement, and the constant fight for survival. But who was truly responsible for the deaths of millions of Native Indians? While the causes are complex and involve a range of factors, the consequences are undeniable. Today, we take a deep dive into this painful history, exploring the perpetrators and the impact that still reverberates today. The beginning of the end for Native American tribes began in 1492 when Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. Soon after, European settlers arrived, bringing with them diseases, new technologies, and a hunger for land. The first wave of devastation came in the form of diseases like smallpox, influenza, and measles, which wiped out entire communities before settlers even knew they were sick. Native populations, having no immunity to these foreign diseases, were decimated, with some estimates claiming that up to 90% of the population perished within the first century of European contact. As European colonies expanded, Native American tribes faced relentless pressure to yield their lands. Settlers pushed further into indigenous territories, engaging in violent conflicts over land, resources, and survival. The U.S. government, during its expansionist phase, adopted policies that directly targeted Native Americans, seeking to assimilate or eradicate them. The result was the forced relocation of thousands, most famously during the tragic Trail of Tears, where over 4,000 Cherokee people died from disease, starvation, and exposure. The suffering didn't end with forced relocation. The U.S. government played a major role in orchestrating the genocide of Native Americans. The signing of numerous treaties, often under duress, promised protection and land to the Native tribes. However, these treaties were frequently broken, with the government systematically taking more land, hunting the buffalo to near extinction, and using the military to suppress any resistance. The most infamous of these was the massacre at Wounded Knee, where hundreds of Lakota Sioux men, women, and children were killed by the U.S. Army. As if the physical violence wasn't enough, the U.S. government sought to destroy Native cultures as well. Children were taken from their families and placed in boarding schools, where they were forbidden to speak their languages, practice their religions, or even maintain their identities. These schools were designed to civilize the Native children, erasing their heritage in favor of European American culture. This cultural genocide continues to affect Native American communities to this day, with many tribes struggling to preserve their traditions. The long-lasting effects of European settlement continue to be felt by Native Americans. The land that was once theirs is now controlled by the U.S. government or private corporations. Many Native Americans were pushed onto reservations where poverty, inadequate healthcare, and limited opportunities have created cycles of trauma and hardship. The loss of ancestral lands, combined with the destruction of their way of life, has left many tribes struggling to reclaim what was taken from them. While it's clear that European settlers and the U.S. government played significant roles in the death and displacement of Native Americans, the question of who killed Native Indians doesn't have a simple answer. It was a combination of colonization, government policies, and individual actions that led to the deaths of millions. Figures like Andrew Jackson, responsible for the Indian Removal Act, and commanders of military campaigns against Native tribes bear direct responsibility. However, the responsibility extends far beyond these individuals, encompassing the entire process of colonization and systemic oppression that still affects Native Americans today. Today, Native American communities continue to fight for justice, land rights, and the recognition of the wrongs that were committed. Tribes are working hard to reclaim their history, language, and culture, ensuring that future generations know the true story of what happened. The legacy of this tragic history lives on, but so does the resilience of those who have fought and continue to fight for their rights. The question, who killed Native Indians, is complex, but one thing is clear. Native Americans were killed by the hands of colonizers, settlers, and an oppressive government. But the spirit of Native Americans cannot be killed. Despite the violence, the oppression, and the struggle, Native tribes continue to thrive and resist. The road to justice is long, but as history shows us, Native Americans are never defeated, only enduring.